Hi, I'm Ellie and I'm almost ready to kick off my tour around New South Wales in my self-converted 2007 Toyota Hiace I have called Arcadia. But first, I went on a test trip to see how everything worked out and I thought I'd let you in on exactly what happened. I'm Ellie Wilder and you're watching Wilder in Motion. So this is it. I'm just about to leave for my practice run. Everything is all set up. I'm very excited. I'm a little nervous because I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to stay for the night. I know generally the beach that I'm going to head to, and I'll drive around and find somewhere cozy. So my destination of choice was a coastal town just outside of Sydney. The drive there was fairly smooth. This was my first long drive with the van completely full of all my things, so I have to be a little more careful because I can't speed up or slow down as quickly without everything in the van flying all over the place. The wardrobe doors came open while I was driving, and despite the fact that they had some little rollable catches on them, they still managed to fly open. Now this wasn't too much of a problem, but it did mean that all of the narrow drawers all came out at the same time as I came around a corner and all fell into each other. This wasn't too much of a problem since this is my pantry and there wasn't much food in there, but mustard seeds did go all over the floor, but at least these are dry, so they were really easy just to sweep up. So my solution is going to be getting like a child safety door closure thing that ties the two handles together, and I'll probably get one for the cupboard above the wardrobe as well. None of the other cupboards came open, but if this one above the wardrobe did come open, it would be way more of a disaster because all my toiletries are in there. So I arrived at my destination in the afternoon and I found a kind of quiet spot in front of a park to pull up. I'm not planning on using many caravan parks, mainly because they're not conveniently located for the places that I want to go, and they're also expensive. So my strategy for free camping is just to not park directly outside people's houses, as well as move every night. Once I was settled, I closed up all the curtains of the van and then put on my kind of blockouts, which are just these modified windshield covers that I've got for each window. These just stop the light from coming in so much and give me a bit more privacy as well. So I put everything up like that so the van was ready when I came back, went for a nice long stroll on the beach, and then returned to make myself some dinner. I decided to test out my inverter and my sandwich press, which I haven't used before, but it was very successful. It heated up and I was able to make myself a toastie. It had to be peanut butter though because I didn't have that much in my pantry. So I set up my ironing board table and had dinner. Everything worked really well, and then I went to wash everything up. It was at this point that I discovered my water pump is very loud, so it did feel a little less stealth because at this point it was dark, so it was really ringing out in the silence of the night. So I finished cleaning up for the night. I've washed my face, I've gotten into my pajamas, and then I'm going to make up my bed now, and I'm pretty much ready to settle down for the night, which involved turning my two bench seats into one big queen size bed. And this was actually quick and easy. I thought this would be a bit of a burden, but it wasn't really much trouble. And as I went with an actual foam mattress that's cut into pieces, it was quite comfortable, but a little firm because it is still new and it needs to be slept on a few times. I had a pretty good night's sleep. However, there was quite a lot of light coming through the back window just in a gap where the windshield cover was sticking out a little bit. So I modified that by adding an extra magnet to stick things a little closer in that area. And all up, it was fairly quiet. I didn't get too much noise. However, the spot where I'd chosen to park was right next to a footpath, so I could hear people as they were having conversations walking past. In my room at home, I have my bedside table with lots of things that I might need during the night on it, and I wasn't sure what to do about this in the van since we're pretty short on space. So I decided to use a toiletry bag and repurpose it with all the things that I could need. So I've got some earplugs, an eye mask, some socks, got a torch, some lip balm, headphones, and I also keep my keys in here so I don't lose them. And that I can just easily move around the van, so during the day I can zip it up and put it in this section, and at night I can just have it next to me on the bed. Unfortunately, when I woke up, the power had gone out, and I spoke about this in my previous video with all my electrical struggles that I've been having. So at this point I unplugged the fridge. Luckily there wasn't too much in it, but I just wanted to take any load off the battery to give it a chance to charge. So then I decided to have some breakfast, and one thing that's been really handy about my kitchen bench here that folds is that when this whole area here is in bed mode, I can also sit cross-legged on the bed and the kitchen bench is a really good height to use as a table. So I just had some cereal for breakfast while I was sitting on the bed. After breakfast, I packed everything up so the van was ready to drive to a sunnier spot, and I gave the battery a chance to charge back up again while I went for another beach walk. As for my toilet situation, in my plumbing video you saw that I had a chemical toilet, and I had given this a bit of a test before I left, and I found at one point that it leaked, but I thought I had worked out exactly the spot where the seal wasn't quite fitting that it had leaked. And it seems like everything was fixed and this was going okay for the first day or so. But then when I next drove the van, it leaked a little bit while I was driving. Like, not so much that it was a total disaster, but enough that it was just like so frustrating. So I've decided to just not bother with the chemical toilet thing. I don't think the chemicals really helped. It was just really frustrating when it leaked. It was really gross to empty, and it's also expensive. So back to the beach, I decided to stay overnight in the spot that I had parked up in the sun that day. So I went back to the van and I made some rice for dinner, which was my first time using my Thetford stove, which I installed. And at first when I turned the gas on, it didn't work and I was freaking out. I was like, am I gonna have to go back to Sydney? Why isn't everything working? And then I realized that I have a safety gauge, which I installed to stop the gas from leaking. So I just had to disable that. And then everything was working and I was able to enjoy my rice, and the power was charged up somewhat during the day, and I decided to just leave the fridge off and leave no load on that overnight. And I wanted to hold on to the power that I gained during the day. That night was a little noisier because I was parked on the main street right near the beach. Unfortunately, despite not having any load on the battery overnight, it still ran down again, which is a problem that I'm still facing and I hope to solve soon. But with that aside, the next day I met some friends who had driven up from Sydney on the beach and we hung out. It was really, really hot as well, so it was so great to be on the beach in one that was a lot quieter than those that are in Sydney. I had a nice relaxing day swimming and I decided to move the van somewhere a little more private so that I could have the door open and get a bit of breeze through the van. So I picked somewhere that didn't have a footpath, that was just kind of an overgrown sort of garden bit, and I parked as close to it as possible so that I could have the door open and people wouldn't be encouraged to walk around that side of the van, and it ended up being really private. I also had my fan going and that worked effectively in the hot weather. That night I had a camp classic of beans on toast, which I could have toasted in my sandwich press, but it was actually so hot I didn't want to have any extra heat in the van, so it ended up just being beans on bread. After that, I decided to venture out and take my first shower. Now, there's pretty much showers everywhere at beaches in Australia, and I knew there were outdoor showers, but I also discovered that there were indoor showers in the change rooms / bathrooms, and these ones were really nice as well. They actually had their own cubicles and their own little dry area for me to put my stuff. It was cold water only, but it was such a hot day that it was totally fine. So I basically just brought a little plastic bag of stuff I would need for the shower and a small towel and used these cold water showers, and it certainly settled any worries I had about not having a shower in the van. That night was still a little noisy, probably a combination of it being a Saturday night and I was still quite close to the main street. I then made my favourite shaker pancakes for breakfast and enjoyed these with the door wide open, the breeze coming through, and of course some delicious Nutella. It was another really hot day, so I went for a quick swim in the beach and then I decided to go for a little bit of an explore in the areas surrounding the beach. I discovered a little hidden coastal bush track which was really peaceful with not that many other people on it, and it was a great opportunity to take in the serenity of the surroundings, which is exactly what my van journey is all about. And with that, I was just about ready to head off to Sydney, but first I got some petrol because it's a lot cheaper in regional areas, if not more stable. And now here I am back in Sydney making my final preparations before I'm ready to head off on my van journey for good. I just have to sort out my electrical system. I am going to give it a few days, and then next week I'm going to an auto electrician to get this sorted once and for all. I've got a couple of little aesthetic finishing touches, and then I will have a complete van tour coming to you very soon. So if you don't want to miss that, be sure to like, subscribe. I'll see you next time.